So, how to set up a 3-to-1 hauling system, also called a Z-haul. So here we have a rope which is coming from the load. Now the load could be a person, it could be a heavy bag that you're trying to haul up the mountain. It's coming up here through a carabiner and onto a master point. The carabiner is locked, and this is going to be the top most point of the system. The next thing you want to do is you've got to put a capture progress prusik into the system. So I'm going to put a conventional kind of prusik on here, or a classic prusik. And this is the prusik which is going to catch the load. It's going to capture the progress as I haul the load up the mountain. Dress the knot nicely, and then I take another screw gate carabiner, and I've got to clip this back to the master point here. Note that I do not put it onto the same carabiner that the rope is running through. And clip it on and lock it, right? And then I take a second prusik loop, and for no particular reason I'm going to use a Klemheist prusik at this point. Put that through. And of course, if you don't know how to make these knots, there are other parts in these videos where you can see exactly how to make, for instance, a Klemheist. So there I've got my two prusiks on. You then put another screw gate carabiner on there, and we'll just get some tension into the system, and we're going to start hauling and push that down, and we've got to reset the system now. So the first thing you're going to do is the tension comes back onto there. You make sure that that prusik is holding, and then you can slide the forward prusik down and start to haul again. And you've got to mind this prusik by pushing it down. You don't want that prusik to get pulled through the system like that. And you put it a bit more, and before we reset, we check that this one is holding, and we push the other one down, and we start to haul again and mind the prusik and down again like that. On a 3-to-1 like this, remember it's a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. So for every 1 unit of force that I put into this system here, it pulls 3 units of force into that system, and that's how the system will work. One variation is that if you're making a 3-to-1 hauling system, you can have a system where you don't have to have a capture progress prusik over here, but you can use an Alpine clutch. And this is how you make an Alpine clutch. Is you simply put 2 carabiners at this point, and they must be of the same or similar profile type carabiner. They should be screw gates, and then you take this side of the rope and you flip it through like so, do it up, and then you'll see how the Alpine clutch works. So I'm hauling here and it slides through, but jams on the reverse, and a very useful system. And you must also remember that you need a very supple kind of rope. If you're using a semi-static rope, for instance, it doesn't work very well. Here we're using a very soft dynamic rope, and it can turn through the system here very nicely. The one disadvantage of it is that you can't release a garter brake or Alpine clutch. When you set up a 3-to-1 hauling system, or whether it be 5-to-1 or 6-to-1, it doesn't really matter. One of the limiting factors is the friction in the system, and you want to reduce friction. So one of the ways you can do that is you can use carabiners, for instance, that have a nice wide profile here at the top, where it's going around at that point. Now, many climbers and alpinists will be carrying some kind of a pulley with them. If you've got just one pulley, the place to, and you want to reduce friction in the system, just remember that you don't place the pulley at that point, you place it at this point. And that's because you introduce the efficiency at the beginning of the system. So I'm going to use a petrol pulley here. It's a rated pulley. Slip it in, and now the system has become far more easy to pull, and it is efficient. And I've introduced the pulley at that point. One aspect is when you are setting up a 3-to-1 system like this, the Capture Progress prusik has this issue of being able to be pulled around the carabiner there, and if that ever happens, you've got big trouble with it. However, you can add in a kind of prusik minding system, and here what we've done is taken an ordinary belay device and put it into the system, and it's going to mind the prusik, so it's going to stop it from sliding right around the carabiner. So as we haul, you can see it slides like that, but then, and it's not being pulled around, and then you just push it down a little bit and it grabs again. And as we haul again, it minds the prusik and grabs it again. So when you set up a 3-to-1 hauling system, you need, as we saw earlier, you need some kind of a system here that captures the progress as you haul the load up. And we've used a prusik here before. Well, there's a way that you can do it without a prusik. So we'll put the prusik down, and we use one of these type devices, a reverser type device in guide mode, also called a plaquette. And we'll introduce it into the system here by doing the following. We are going to place the rope through the plaquette or reverser. We take a carabiner that is lockable in some way, and it should preferably have a nice round profile at the head end here, at the wider end. We place it on, hold it, hang it off the dedicated loop like that, and now when I haul the system, it simply runs through like so, and I'm coming up. It's got to be reset soon, and when I want to reset it, it automatically locks there, and I can reset my prusik. If you're going to do a 3-to-1 hauling system, and if you've got them, these little things called tie blocks or tib blocks can be very useful. You'll see that there are little serrated teeth on the inside here which grip on the rope. They're very simple to use. You simply put them on the rope like that, and you take a carabiner, preferably with a nice rounded profile and a wide edge or wide side on this side, and you put them in, and you'll notice that you can push them up, but they catch on the way down like that. So we're going to make a 3-to-1 hauling system here using these tie blocks or tib blocks from Petzl. I put one on there that is replacing the prusik that was on there earlier, and that's going to grip the rope for the hauling system. Then you don't need to put a prusik here. You can set up a tib block in such a way that it will capture the progress, and it takes a bit of thought of how to place them, and sometimes you'll get it wrong on the first one, but we will illustrate how not to place them later. So the rope which is going to be coming in is going to go in the top there, and it must not be able to go in the opposite direction. So I place that rope, which is the hauling side of the rope, the live end, and I take a carabiner, a locking carabiner that's got a nice round profile, and I place it on there. By the way, that loop there is simply to carry it on my harness. So now the tib block is set as a prusik, as a capture progress method, and as I haul it up, it's going to do that, and the other tib block is coming closer, and I'm going to reset it, and when I reset it, the tib block flips around and then grips the rope, and I can push the other tib block ahead. And now when I pull again, it will flip around probably, and I want to reset, and away we go. So when you place a tib block as a capture progress kind of system, there's a common mistake that one can make, is that you don't put the tib block running around the carabiner, but you put it on the downside. And this is what people might tend to do. They put the tib block in like that, and then they place it in, and it's sitting on the outside. It's not running around the carabiner, and it is certainly not the way to do things. This is highly dangerous.